There are roughly 119,740,000 kilometers between the planets Venus and Mars.
Somewhere in the middle lies Earth.
That's one small step for man,
I'm the boss.
That's a gaslighter.
Love bombing.
Narcissist. Homemaker.
Deal breaker.
one giant leap for mankind.
If he wanted to, he would.
5 signs of avoidant attachment.
You wouldn't consider men and women equal.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Join us in the space between Venus and Mars. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the space between Venus and Mars. I'm Jessie.
I'm Chris.
Thank you for joining us. When you were a kid, did you ever watch The Pickup Artist on VH1?
No, I did not watch that, but I did watch Talk Soup, where they talked about Pickup Artist on VH1.
Soup? Like with
Joe
Joe McHale, the
Yeah.
soup?
The soup.
Wait.
Soup was great. Yeah.
The soup was great.
He was always dunking on mystery.
I do remember this. Okay. So for those that don't know, The Pickup Artist was a show in the early aughts on VH1. And essentially it was hosted by this man named Mystery who would help men who have a lot of trouble in the dating scene, like go out in the streets, like teach them how to talk to women, whatever, and basically get them to go to bed with him, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
He's mostly pandering, or his audience, I should say, would be considered modern day incels.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying his audience as far as like the people within the show that are his disciples? Or are you saying, yeah for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but we've all seen Hitch,
Sure. Yes.
you know,
of course.
with Will Smith and
Kevin James.
Kevin James. I feel like that movie was really capturing the spirit of the pickup artist.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. I was also thinking about Crazy Stupid Love. And that's like
yeah.
another, like a little bit in the evolution of that identity of like who that person is. And that movie also, I guess, being on, the turning point in the culture that the whole movie's about him reforming. Oh, Hitch is about that too, of him reforming himself
Yeah.
from that. All of the, actually, yeah, and Crazy Stupid Love. It's all in this realm of like the guy who's been around the block, who knows all of the special tricks, who knows the code of the Matrix more than like even really knowing what he wants out of a relationship with a person. He just knows how to get them to bed or, whatever.
Yeah. Capture the attention of the opposite sex in a way that,
And is
like,
helping a hopeless schlub who doesn't know how to make it happen for himself, or doesn't have the confidence.
Yeah, it doesn't have the confidence, doesn't adhere to the beauty standards that are set in the zeitgeist.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm reading The Evolution of Desire by David M. Buss. And basically, humans have different mating strategies for when they're specifically also men and women, but specifically men. They have different dating strategies for finding a mate for a long-term relation and for short-term relation.
Okay.
They're two different strategies. Women kind of have two different strategies, but not really, because the cost of casual sex is so high. Like you could potentially get pregnant and then you're like stuck. You know what
It's
I
a
mean?
much riskier
riskier thing. For women. So, and then there's a bunch of things you could look at too. Like technically, like the egg is much larger than the sperm. So like evolutionary biology in terms, like typically mammals that have like a larger sex organ is the one that has the higher risk usually.
Okay.
Because they do have the smaller sex cells, the sperm. Their evolutionary task is to, basically see if they can impregnate as many women as they can and whatever. And
just blow the dandelion seeds all over.
Exactly. Yeah. So short-term strategies, men are really just trying to be confident. They're peacocking. They're going into bars and or other places and talking about their achievements, talking about things that they've accomplished, talking about how much money they have, driving fancy cars, buying drinks, whatever, showing that they have resources or whatever.
Right.
Like one quote that I really love from this book, it says, men's more powerful status and resource acquisitions drives are due, at least in part, to the preferences that women have expressed over the past few million years. To paraphrase the evolutionary anthropologist Sarah Hardy, men are one long breeding experiment run by women. So,
I mean, where's the lie? Where's the lie?
exactly. So I think like that's the thing. Like men are always just trying to figure out what women want. So they're gonna go to other men that think that they've cracked the code.
Yeah. Yeah. I see where you're coming from there. Yeah. And I mean, as things evolve, it's kind of like everyone's trying to outgame the system. Now I feel like as things have evolved, like you're now bending to the new rules and contract of like what the dating world is. In the new modern online dating apparatus, it seems now like the new thing to crack the code is AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially like, how do you then crack the code in the virtual world?
Right. Because
Because they're not in a bar
you're no
anymore.
longer working the room. You're now
Yeah.
working a
Yeah.
chat room. Match, I think .com did some like cross survey and with the Kinsey Institute, and they said 26% and growing number of singles now are using AI to enhance their dating lives.
26%.
Yeah, that is a 333% increase from the previous year. It's just become part of the fabric of the way that people interact. The article I think you had sent me from The Guardian was talking a lot about this, about being chatfished into bed,
yeah.
as they're calling it.
And I mean, I think that's to your point where it's like, oh, is this taking advantage? Is the pickup artist taking advantage of people by like, pretending to be this like false version of you to then go pick up people or go pick up women or whatever? I think the same thing is kind of happening with ChatGPT, and people are having very different experiences in person on a date. Like the kinds of conversation they're having, they describe as being very, very different than the ones that they were having on the apps.
Yes.
Which is so gnarly to me. That's so gnarly. Like, whoa.
Yeah. There's like stories about people who would like have like long emotional connections with people about like their attachment styles and all of this. And then they'd meet up and like he'd just be staring at his phone the whole time. And it's like, at what point, like, is that, I mean, to me, that seems worse than even the pickup artist, because there's weirdly
Totally.
a social contract to that, at least of like this being an understood idea of like what reality is, and like this being a one night stand, or like, or I mean, maybe it still would hurt them in the sense that it was a mirage, but now it's like you're like staring at a mirror and it's like reflecting everything you want to hear back to you, and then like what are you actually getting then out of the relationship with the real person other than just the body?
It seems like from these articles where people have been chatfished, is that what they're calling it? These men are going into it using ChatGPT with long-term mating strategies, but really they just want a short term, but then they're saying that they want, I don't know, like,
I mean, maybe they do want long term, but they just don't know
Okay.
how to get there.
Yeah.
And if like it involves you completely changing the way you present yourself
right.
to a person, then like why are you even doing it then?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's the future. I know it's the way things are going, but I was listening to this interview with Michael Pollan, and he was talking about how our consciousness is being outsourced.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like a very scary concept for me, because if we're outsourcing our consciousness, then what do we then become? Just like all like fucking meat and bones? I don't know. So it's like when you actually have real world interactions, what are you bringing? What parts of yourself are you really bringing to the table? And then on top of that, like if you had outsourced, like say you're chatting with someone on the app and you had used ChatGPT to kind of help you facilitate this conversation, like you're always kind of going to be in self-doubt of like what you really just say, kind of unedited and unfiltered, like kind of just bringing in your authentic self into the date. Like you're not going to be able to trust what you say because you always were like cross-checking with the ChatGPT. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a way to like almost like build in more in like reinforce the insecurity within yourself that already exists so much when you're like going on a date.
Yeah. The one thing that did kind of strike me that I was like, oh, interesting in this article was it was talking about this one woman. She was having issues with her partner and she didn't know how to communicate them in a way that like he would hear. So she would type stuff into ChatGPT and be like, can you soften this and make this sound like more constructive?
Oh.
And so that is a different side of the coin where is that helping us connect more then? If you can,
like a tool.
Yeah, find a way to bridge the gap in that way, which, you know, if that's the difference between you only getting into a fight with like maybe like a partner that like has a really hard time hearing criticism or something like that, maybe that's a positive. But if it gets to the point where like some of these people where they say it's like 90 to 95% of the time they're talking to them, they're just talking through these filters of like a completely different person and bot. I mean, then it's like at what point are we actually even trying to put in that effort for emotional connection? There was some symposium on the evolution of dating with technology, and one of them was like, well, you just feed an AI bot all of your information, all of your photos, all of your personal stuff, then it will do all of the swiping on the app with all of these other people. It will pick, the top 25, and it'll go on dates with them, and the bots will interface with each other, and they'll get all of the small talk out of the way, so they'll know if you're compatible and actually deserve to go on a second date.
Okay, wait. This is an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Hang the DJ.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that episode. I think back to Hitch, the lesson is connecting to ourselves. I feel like doing the hard work of figuring out what it is that you want, figuring out your intention, and it's going to be messy. It's hard to find your people. And I think that's why early internet was so utopian, because we had these websites where you can just go where it's like, I also like pears that are unripe or whatever. There was a whole community.
There's a GeoCities for that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think that the internet has done so good the early internet did so good with like helping us find our people in that way. And, you know, it required you to kind of go outside of your comfort zone. I mean, granted, we can also talk about the fact that like it did require, you know, you to have access to a computer and internet or whatever. But then you'd go to the internet cafe, which, you know, was another way to maybe meet people, you know. But my point is that technology can really connect us in a lot of different ways. And like most things, if used inappropriately, it can really, really remove us from ourselves and really cause us to detach from our humanity. Mm-hmm. The AI age that we're in right now we're at the very beginning of it. Like we are literally we've just crossed through the threshold. So I feel like it's really hard to tell where all of this is going. I mean, we didn't stand up for the pickup artists as a society was like, okay, that's gross. We're not going to do that. So it's just kind of like we have to decide, like, are we all going to get fed up with people not having real genuine conversations and just outsourcing it to ChatGPT? And are we going to come together and be like, okay, this is disgusting and gross. Like, we're not going to do that. We just all have to decide. And I was going to say, like, and after the pickup artist age, we all came together and connected as man and woman, and we were all happy and we lived happily ever after. And population boomed and marriages and divorce rates got down and marriages soared, but that's not what happened.
Right.
We all went into our corners.
Yeah, our caves.
Mm-hmm. And we're sadder than ever.
Right. If we don't allow for some kind of socially acceptable way for people to come out and risk it in
love and connection and
romance. In the pursuit of that, then like what are we even what is the point of life, I guess?
That's what's so hard about this time is like these people who make these products like ChatGPT and stuff like aren't interested in the human experience.
Just doesn't make any sense because it's like you replace all of the workers with AI. And it's like, okay, great. So then we have all this free time to like focus on what? Like pursuit of connection, of art, of these other things. And like, no, we're going to do art too. We're also going to take over your dating life. We're going to take over like your expression. Like what then is left for like the human experience? Not like it's just ends up being like you consume exactly what we want you to consume and to have the thoughts that we tell you to. Like,
I mean, there's real journalists talking about this stuff and like theorizing and stuff too. And we, I think as a collective have to decide what parts of the human experience we feel are worthy of protecting, even as uncomfortable as they are. Like we have to come together and be like, no, like I'm going to think a little bit and think of a clever quip to comment on a boy's Hinge photo so that he can message me back.
Right.
Whoever's listening, and if you use ChatGPT to help you with dating apps, I would encourage you to try and maybe not rely on it so much this week or this season of your life. Maybe give it a whirl. And
where would you draw the line? If you're a person that's like, you've been using it for like outsourcing everything, where would you tell them to curtail it? In my mind, it's like, just limit it to the opening line.
Limit it to the opening line.
Take a page from the pickup artist. Like have the line in your pocket and then go from there and like actually try and make a connection and be in the moment with that person. Like VH1 in the early 2000s. You gotta embrace the mystery.
You got to embrace the mystery. Exactly right. Exactly right. Thank you so much for listening. This has been The Space Between Venus and Mars. I'm Jessie.
I'm Chris.
We'll see you. We won't see you because you don't see us. But hopefully you'll listen to us next Saturday.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Our show is made by us, Jesse Rojas and Chris Stold. Our producer is the lovely Marian Rojas. Our composer and mixer extraordinaire is Rosalind Wong, and all of our art is carefully handcrafted by Jacob Bankoff. If you haven't already, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. You can find us there under @VenusandMarsPod. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.